everybody, and welcome to Fusion Body Studio. Today we have Brice Watson and we have Jennifer Baffi. And how are you both going today?
Good. Thank you.
So good. We've been chatting for like 2 hours, just
Yeah,
gossiping as ladies. So we're like, maybe we should actually hit the record button.
please do
So,
now. So today we wanted to bring Jennifer on to talk to us about her journey with exercise and fitness and joining our studio and how you're finding everything, what it's all been like for you. And yeah, we're very excited to have you on. Yeah, would you like to kind of get started with, well, kind of like how did you get started with exercise even before you came across us? What kind of things did you do before?
So, like a lot of us, we've always kind of had our mothers exercise when we were little girls.
Yeah.
And I kind of grew up in the 80s exercise with leg warmers and leotards. But when I was through my 20s, I always did aerobic classes and always I've been a big walker and a hiker most of my life. And I've also rode horses. So I was always kind of active. But once I hit about 38, 40 years old, my body really started to change. And I kind of kept doing the same things I had done before, but it really wasn't doing anything. So I found Esoteric Atlanta, and Brice mentioned different yoga things. And I really had never done yoga, um, didn't know much about it. But a friend of mine here in my community had went and gotten certified. So I thought, well, I'll support her and I'll go to her yoga classes. And in the meantime, I'd hear Brice kind of talk a little bit about yoga, never really understanding it. But anyways, long story short, I Brice had went on Gnostic TV, and I thought, this is cool. I want to see what this girl's got up her sleeve as far as exercising and things like that. So I started doing a couple of her videos on Gnostic, and I just really kind of got smitten. I felt it was a totally different experience than all the other exercises I had done. So I continued on doing those classes on Gnostic. And then when you guys opened the Fusion Body Studio, I just thought, this could be a really, really cool thing. So I did sign up, and I've been more consistent and disciplined than I've ever been in my life. And I'm really a pear-shaped kind of body, and I kind of have a lot, I'm kind of plumpy, but so I've been exercising since they opened the academy, but I exercised with Brice before. So I would say I've been exercising good maybe for the last year and a half.
Mm-hmm.
But I'm starting to just now notice really good changes in my body. I don't have this back handle. Like, I can't grip that anymore. The sides of my thighs are smoother, like the cellulite's going away. I actually wrote a list because there was so many things I was afraid I wouldn't remember. Oh, my back. So I always had back tightness, right hip pain. I don't have that anymore. There are some days my back might be a little stiff, but I will stretch it out and move it around, and it's good for the rest of the day. Um, and Yeah, my right hip used to kind of almost lock. I don't know if that makes any sense to anybody. Um, but now that's all gone. And even if I take off and go on a walk, which I do still love my walking and hiking, I try to incorporate that in as much as I can. I can elongate my body so much. I can move so much more freely. And of course, it is a good stress reliever. I have a much better attitude after I exercise. But what I like most about what you guys have come up with is the integration afterwards to come into your body, and like the meditation, which isn't, a lot of people think of meditations as being kind of, I don't want to use the term woo woo, but these meditations are,
mm-mm.
they bring you down into your body.
Yeah.
It just, to integrate those two things have just been a complete game changer for me. And I actually love to exercise now. And I love to challenge myself more, and I'm not afraid to challenge myself like I used to be. I think I was afraid to challenge myself in a lot of ways.
Mhm.
So I started journaling a lot, which took me a long time to kind of get into that habit. And that's one thing I do appreciate the both of you is you're very patient, first of all, but you don't push things at your students.
Mhm.
You're just more or less like, give this a try. And if you want to try it, that's great. If you don't do it, that's great too. It's what you want to do. It's how you want to work it. So I kind of just eased into a lot of this stuff. And now that I've kind of eased into it and taken like my path and my time frame with it, I think it's just been so beneficial for me in the long run. So I used to, and when I started working out with you, I could only do 10 minutes. I could only do 15 minutes.
Mhm.
And now I'm pushing into 45 and 60 minutes. And I'm really proud of that.
Yeah.
I'm really proud of that.
Well,
So,
we are very proud of you. I think
oh,
that's
thank you.
Yeah.
just
Yeah.
incredible. Yeah.
So I really, this studio has really brought me to a better place in my life. And I look forward to seeing how much more I'm going to transform and change as I continue through this process. And even the journaling bit, I've learned so much about my body that I never thought about before. For example, I have low blood pressure and I've known this my whole life. And I'm starting to learn like a lot of the ups and downs and like the forward folds and stuff. It's causing, and I wanted to talk to you about that actually off camera, Brice. I'm sorry, I never brought it up. But so I'm trying to modify that and I'm making these exercise routines modified to my body to where I can handle to go further. And I also had a problem sweating. I've never been a sweater and I now sweat.
Good.
And I but I also look back on my past life of exercising, and I think that's why I never got to the point of sweating was because I was so out of breath because of my blood pressure.
Mhm.
So I wondered if that's why I never pushed that ahead. Just questions I ask myself when I'm going through these motions of learning about this stuff.
We can
So
get into that at some point if you want, because I have low blood pressure too. So
that's good to know.
Mhm.
I mean,
yeah.
not that it's good to know, but you know what I mean.
Yeah, yeah, but you
That
know what?
because
There's probably people out there as well that also have low blood pressure, and so it would be very helpful to understand what's going on.
And
because
I
I
sweat
for
like a
I'm sorry, I forgot as a kid, like teens and early 20s, that we're kids when we're but I would be like if I was, for example, polishing my car or waxing my car, if I was down for a while and I stood up, I would just drop like a fly. I
yeah.
would just pass right out.
Mhm.
So I forgot about that stuff.
Yeah. So I think too what's happening in our world is it's so fascinating. I think what's happened with you, Jennifer, is you had this transference, which happened to me too. Because I was born in the 80s. I say we're kids. I'm a 42-year-old kid, so
I
so
know, I know,
I still sometimes can't believe that we're the adults.
I
Yeah.
know.
We're like we're in charge now. Um, but we get in these patterns of thought with exercise. And, I grew up going, some of my earliest memories are sitting in the back of a jazzercise class, watching my mother do jazzercise and like step aerobics. Those are some of my earliest memories. I have memories of going with my mom to like Weight Watchers meetings. Like I have so many memories of sitting in the back of a Weight Watchers meeting coloring. Like I still remember a Weight Watchers meeting where the woman said, and I say this to my mother all the time now because I still remember it. It was right before Thanksgiving. And the woman said, now remember, if you gobble, 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 you'll wobble, wobble, wobble. And so I still remember that to this day.
Whoa. Oh my
Um,
goodness.
um, if you gobble, 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 you're wobble, wobble, wobble. So every Thanksgiving I walk in, I'm like, if you gobble, 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 you're gonna wobble, wobble, wobble. So that's some of my earliest memories. And my mother always struggled with her weight. She's never been super overweight, but she would, her weight would fluctuate. A lot of women would struggle with, a lot of people struggle with this. That's a very common problem. My sister and I, on the other hand, have always been relatively thin. But my mother, I watched her and it's a catch 22, right? Because I think my ability to exercise every day came from watching my mother do it. So that was normal to me.
Mhm.
Whereas my boyfriend, his parents don't exercise. So for him to actually get that, catch that train of like doing this every day was something new to him but I had grown up seeing it. So I'm very grateful for that, that was already programmed in me to do that. However, in my early 20s, um, I was in that mentality of you exercise to get skinny. You
Yeah.
exercise to look a certain way. You exercise to punish yourself, right? Food was a restriction. And then you had a cheat day for play. Food was not, it took a while for me, even though I was thin, to understand that food is actually nourishment. It's not a treat, or it's not to be deprived. You just have to eat properly to nourish yourself properly. But more importantly, even for me as somebody who was used to exercise, to retrain my brain to not see it as a punishment, but rather as a spiritual experience. It's not about burning calories, even though you are burning calories. It's about burning karma.
Mhm.
And that's very different. With the low blood pressure, with the coming up and down quickly, when I first started practicing Ashtanga years ago, I struggled with that, with the dizziness. But it passed. I don't deal with that anymore. I'm still have low blood pressure, but I don't deal with the dizziness anymore.
Okay.
Um,
And what do
now
you
also,
think happened? Like, what do you think changed? Is it because your body changed the
uh-huh.
strength and
Yep.
yeah.
I think the body changed, and the body's going to create new patternings to be able to accomplish what you're asking it to accomplish. And my
Right.
mind around it changed. I don't see health issues as limitations anymore. I think that's
Mhm.
another thing that we are trained. We are trained to think that we are like delicate little flowers. And what? No, we are the product of people who survived plagues.
Oh, yeah.
We're the product of people who were in war. Like, we are the
Like
strongest of the
Vikings.
strongest. Yeah. We're the strongest of our family lines ever been. We can, and I think sometimes we talk about this a lot, Paula, and I love to hear y'all's thoughts on this as well, because it's been a long time since I was in that beginning journey, right? So and that's the thing about a teacher. It's not that we're better. It's just we've been doing this for longer, so we can help guide you and kind of when you hit these hiccups, because hiccups do happen, we can help talk you off the ledge because we are programmed to think that we're breakable. We're programmed to think that when something is uncomfortable, it's bad. But if we're not uncomfortable, we're not changing. And so sometimes I think what happens, especially when you have low blood pressure with the cardio side, that panic arises, right? There's a panic that happens, whether it's subconscious or conscious, but when that panic happens, if you just lean into it instead of like bowing down to it, thank you for your, I always call it the negotiations of the mind. Thank you for your suggestion, mind. But I'm gonna stay just for a couple more seconds. I'm just gonna stay here. I'm gonna see if I can stay for 30 more seconds and see what happens. And so I think there's a breakthrough.
Mhm.
Now with sweating, what Jennifer is talking about is basically one of the main foundational principles of exercise. And this is, I mean, there's so many different forms of exercise, but if we want to categorize it into two tiers, just two, that would be aerobic work and anaerobic work. Aerobic work is the cardiovascular, right? So for Jennifer, if she's got low blood pressure, she's having problems breathing, she might be stopping before the body actually has that breakthrough and the sweat starts to come, right? Because that's a programmed panic. Yeah. But you're going to get just as much sweat from anaerobic work without having to rely on the oxygen. So this aerobic means with oxygen, right? So in a cardiovascular, so cardio heart vascular vein system, that's another example of aerobic work. So running, jazzercise, like intense biking, intense, the body is moving so quickly that the heart is pumping through the vascular system fresh blood and oxygen because it's using oxygen as its energy source. So that's where the breathing cards, you have to get that rather because that's the body is reaching for that for quick, it's a quick energy grab. Yeah. There's lots of implications to this, but with anaerobic, which means without oxygen. So aerobic is with oxygen, anaerobic is without oxygen. So that doesn't mean you're not breathing. You're still breathing. You're still going to feel your heart rate rise. But the body, the nervous system, especially the parasympathetic nervous system in anaerobic work, is calmer. And so the body is not reaching for a quick supply of energy. It's reaching for stored energy, which is glucose. or sugar or
Okay.
fat. So you are still going to get really hot and sweaty. So that's when we look at like, if we look like bar X, which is one of our signature, the bar fusion, that's very anaerobic. Yoga, Ashtanga yoga, not restorative, but like like intense yoga is anaerobic. Dance is anaerobic. Weightlifting is anaerobic. So there's a lot of anaerobic work out there. And so the body, and like we look at something like barre, for example, we work with micro movements. So when you see like a barre workout, it's lifting that leg up and down. And when you're looking at it, you're like, what's happening? But when you're in it, and you've got
It's
that
a
burn,
lot's happening.
a lot is happening. The body is on fire. If you zoom the camera in, you could probably see my leg shaking
Yeah.
and you feel that what you call it burning out the muscle. That's what they call it. It's burning out the muscle. It's a micro movement. So that fire you feel deep in the body, that's the anaerobic response. So
Mhm.
this is why you've said your cellulite has slimmed down, your love handles have gone away. That's from anaerobic work. So an anaerobic work can also cause deep sweating. Because what's also happening is purging is happening. Now, purging is also happening with cardiovascular work too. Both, all forms of exercise are purging. That's also the sweat. So the sweat, my teacher in India would say you're sweating your poisons out, which I love. Sometimes I love the way Indians say stuff better than the Westerners because the Indians are so dramatic with the way they say stuff. We would say you're detoxing, right? You're sweating your toxins out. My teacher would say you're sweating your poisons out. And I think what he meant by that is not only when we look at the spiritual implications of exercise, we're looking at the basis of Prakriti and Purusha, which is the basis of the Yoga Sutras. Prakriti is your nature, it's your body, it's your life. That's Prakriti is bound by rules. So the two rules of Prakriti, it has a birth, it has a life, it has a death, a beginning, a middle, and end. Because of that, it's always in fluctuation and change. And because it's always in fluctuation and change, it's not permanent. Whereas Purusha, or the soul, has no rules because it's eternal. It has no beginning, middle, or end. And we also say this as the Shiva and the Shakti. So the body becomes the Shakti. It's the creation of the soul. So the soul, so Jennifer and her soul's infinite wisdom on this merry-go-round of existence, of karmic existence, because that's another thing. Karma isn't bad, guys. Karma is just cause and effect. It's your work. That's all it is. It's not bad. It's just, it's neutral. We've given it more power than it really is. So Jennifer,
Agreed.
yeah, Jennifer's soul, Paula's soul, my soul, when we were coming into this life and we were sitting down with our colleagues in the spiritual realm, with God, whatever you want to call that, we were figuring out what our soul wanted to refine. Okay, so I'm going to create an experience. I'm going to create this experience so that I can refine myself. So what do I need to work on? Where are my weaknesses? So for Jennifer, obviously there might be some, and myself, especially with the breathing, we know breathing is associated with grief a lot. So asthma can be a sign of held grief.
Mhm.
It doesn't really matter from a spiritual perspective where that grief came from. What matters is that's what we're working with, and it will play itself out in different ways. Asthma, low blood pressure, like it will play itself out for the soul. So when the soul comes into the body, comes into the house, the ride that it's created, it built it itself. So if I think I built my body to be a fun house, a haunted horror house, not a, not a, I wanted lots of fun to work with. So when Jennifer's soul came into her body, now part of this ride, part of this refinement, so we can truly get to the root of the issue, is going through amnesia, is not remembering.
Mhm.
And so the body has to give us information. So Jennifer goes, "Oh, I have low blood pressure. I'm having a hard time breathing." Okay, so we're going to work from that. We're going to work from that and we're going to move through that obstacle, right? Now, that doesn't mean we plow through it with no regard to the implications of that. So, Jennifer, it's interesting you like hiking because it's not so for you, Jennifer, as a teacher who studies this from both the physical perspective and the spiritual, which they're kind of one and the same in this existence. I would say, my advice to you would be don't do any high impact cardio. So
Right.
that's why I think you like hiking. that tells me information. You like walking because you're getting your heart rate up, but it's honoring the karma that's there to the point where it's not aggravating it.
Mhm.
Okay. That makes a lot
And
of sense.
and you're seeing a response with the studio because you're doing a lot more anaerobic work on top of that, which is
Yeah.
ideal for you because you're able to get the heart rate to rise without the body having to grab for oxygen in a very sporadic quick response. Your body can your parasympathetic nervous system can relax into it. I say that laughing because you're not really relaxed. It's hard,
Yeah.
but the nervous system isn't panicked, right? So the mind
Can I
might be
ask?
panicked. Sorry.
Yes, I was just going to say, so if you're kind of doing more intense aerobic things like maybe more kind of dance classes or like the running or something like that, then would her breath, which should kind of be more of like the panic kind of mode.
Yeah, she would go into panic. Now she can work through that,
Hmm.
obviously, if she wants to, if you want to be a marathon runner, if you want to, but you would need to understand what's going on with your body so that you don't panic. Because when the panic sets in, that's when it gets worse, especially with breathing, especially with breathing. So, yeah,
And I appreciate when I am doing your workshop videos, you're like, and remember, breathe.
Yeah.
Need to hear that.
keep
I'm
breathing.
sure
Yeah.
there's other of us that need to hear you say, and remember, breathe.
Keep
So
breathing.
yeah.
It's all a breathing practice. Everything in life really comes down to us breathing because the inhalation is the pranic expression, the exhalation is the aponic. So it triggers the life force of the body, the pranic rise. Now, probably why you're feeling better and why you've caught the wave, Jennifer, and now you're excited about exercise is because you've actually allowed the prana in your body to lift. And so that's why you're kind of craving it because it feels good, even though it's totally uncomfortable in the moment, right? There's a positive response happening because your life force is rising. And so in your life, that life force is now playing out in your life too. You're more available in your life too because you have more life force, more chi,
Mhm.
right? That gets kind of stuck sometimes in our body. That's where we have tightness in the body, we have stuck energy. And also, this comes down to like weight loss as well. Paul and I've talked about this. If anybody wants to lose weight, most of the time, doing only cardio is gonna not do it for you. It's gonna cause you to gain weight.
I agree with that. I think I've endured that in my mid to late 30s.
Yeah.
I started doing like aerobic class, just and it's like, and yeah, I would leave and I'd be just as I was still stressed when I'd leave the class.
Yeah.
I mean, and it's because we weren't settling down, is kind of what I call it after we
Your
do our.
cortisol levels were way too
Yes.
high. Yeah. Now, in cortisol levels being high, there are times when they need to be high. Like that's why we have cortisol. Like there are times, but if it gets
Okay.
stuck up there,
And
it's
it's
going to
not brought
cause
back down.
brought back down. Yeah, it's going to cause the body to swell. It's going to cause weight gain. So, I've said this before. I am very impressed by marathon runners. I follow marathon runners. My brother-in-law is a marathon runner. I think you can't get as spiritual as running a marathon. That is like the height of spiritual expression in motion because you're not running 26 miles for your health.
Yeah.
You
True.
can, you can run 3 miles for your health. Like there's something else going on with marathon runners, and I respect the hell out of them because that is a spiritual experience for them. However, and it can be if you want to run a marathon, I 100% support that for anybody. I think that's fantastic. However, here's the kicker. You need to understand your body before you go on that journey. Because if your cortisol levels are out of whack, then you are probably going to be doing some damage to your body. So we need to get your cortisol levels back in whack, in the whack, out of the whack, in the whack, in order to make this beneficial for you. Now, professional runners, competitive runners, if you notice competitive runners, they're not swollen. They're very toned and very thin because they're working with coaches who understand this about their body. Now, they're looking at the body from an athletic perspective, right? It's not really about their spiritual awareness. They want to preserve the health of their body for as long as they can so the athlete can keep performing. Okay. But in saying that, body and spirit are one and the same in our experience here. So, what they're doing with these runners, professional runners, are doing strength training classes. They're being stretched out. They're not just hitting the pavement running. There's a lot that goes, a work that goes into them balancing their body so that
Mhm.
their body isn't swollen. So there is flexibility in the hips. There is flexibility in the knees. Okay. So that's why we see marathon runners or professional runners that have these gorgeous Adonis type bodies, is because they're not just running.
Mhm.
Yeah. And they're doing it full time. Like they're doing it 8 hours a day.
Right.
Right, like this is a very different life. So for people who are struggling with their weight, I want you to, because from the 80s and the 90s, I know that propensity to want to go do aerobics to lose weight because that's what we were taught in the 80s. And that still is ingrained in and for me, like we have flesh classes I heard it explained this way, and I think this is so funny for little kids. Cover your ears for a second. Using aerobics to lose weight is like a one night stand.
Yep.
But if you want to lose weight consistently, you're going to have to get into a monogamous relationship with anaerobic work.
I love it.
For me, if I need, I'm not trying to lose weight, but if I had a day where, it's a day after Thanksgiving, or I went out and had a big meal with a friend and I'm feeling like a little food hungover the next day, I might do a flush class, just to flush, which is high aerobic, high cardiovascular, one day just to flush, right? And get my colon to shake it up a little bit to just help it flush. But I'm not going to do that multiple days in a row. The next day I'm going to go back to anaerobic work. Does that make sense?
Mhm.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's like you just take that one day to pressure wash the body, like you're pressure washing your driveway down, cleanse it, and that's it. If you want to so if you are looking at aerobic work for strictly weight loss, your cortisol levels are probably so high, your nervous system is out of whack because of that. You're in fight or flight. So your body, because it's a quick response, because cardiovascular system work is quick, it's quickly grabbing for the oxygen because it's moving fast. It doesn't have time to dig down in and burn the glucose. Your body and its intelligence is going to think that you are in a war right now, that you are literally in a war. What historically comes after a war? Famine. So you're going to mess your metabolism up because your body is thinking, okay, we need to fight. We need to slow the metabolism down so we can preserve energy, which is what a calorie is. A calorie is just energy. We need to preserve this stored fat because after this is over, we're probably going to be starving. We're going to be in famine. So we have these preserves. Now, on top of that, we have another situation going on because you're using empty calories. When you go for a run, you burn a lot of calories, right? But they're empty calories because your body was grabbing for oxygen for that energy. So your body hasn't touched the reserves. So what typically happens an hour or two after a hardcore cardiovascular workout?
You're hungry.
You're hungry. All of a sudden you become hangry.
Yep.
You're eating anything, you can't you become like a disposal for food. You can't satiate that hunger. So if anybody's watching that and if this is an epiphany to you, I hope it is because you're not crazy. I'm proud of you for exercising. However, we need to restructure it for you because we need to work on your cortisol levels and your parasympathetic nervous system and get your body to calm down so your body doesn't think you're literally.
And then with all that stress as well, then you're going to be making not healthiest food choices as well. And you're going to be craving for stuff because when you're stressed, that's when you tend to want to crave for like the sugars or the salty chips and all that kind of stuff.
Yeah.
Comfort food.
And so
You're-
it's kind of just a terrible spiral for
it's
weight
a cycle.
gain, isn't it? It's just
It's
like, it's
a
the
cycle.
complete opposite to what we should be doing.
Yeah,
Now,
it's a kind of work in
Crazy.
progress.
if your cortisol levels are totally fine, there are many people who run that don't have this problem. It's because their cortisol levels are fine,
Hmm.
right? And they're able to calm down. They're not panicked in their run. But if you're on this cycle, this perpetual cycle where you can't figure out what's going on and you're depressed because you're exercising your butt off and you're not losing weight and you're not getting thin, relax. You are exercising your butt off, and I'm so proud of you for that. But instead of punishing your body, we have to figure out what's going on with your body and we have to nourish your body. So
Mhm.
I would highly suggest anaerobic work because that's gonna actually burn your stored fat, your stored love handles, your stored hips. That's what's it's going to use that for energy instead of, I mean, you're still going to be breathing, obviously, but it's the oxygen isn't going to be the primary source of energy. You're stored and you're not stressing your cortisol levels out. It's calming your parasympathetic nervous system down. So after you're done with anaerobic, you're not going to see an uptick in your appetite.
Mhm.
Your appetite is going to stay normal. You're
And
going to
so
tone.
And so on the Fusion Body Studio, we have a whole playlist made up for exercises that help support weight loss, and
Yes.
it's mainly the bar fusion classes, isn't it?
Should I pull it up, Paula? Let me, because
Yeah,
I want to.
Yeah,
sure.
that's actually the one I'm working out of the most is get your body back.
Yeah, I was actually just going to ask you that. I was going to say, what are
Yeah.
your favorite classes, and what are you working on the most at the moment, Jennifer? So that's
The tough I'm working on the tough ones because I'm moving into the 45 to 60-minute ones.
awesome.
And I've even done a couple of 75-minute ones and I actually completed them and I was really
Oh,
proud of myself. But it was a tough go, but I made it. And
yeah.
but it also it allowed me to see where my fitness levels were and where I needed to adjust to where I could build to be stronger for those longer ones. But yeah, I like all the classes. The bar fusions they're all good. They all work. I really like the core work that goes into it.
Yeah.
Um, in the hip work, my hips are so much more open.
Yeah.
Um, I grew up on a farm. My parents still have a farm. This is kind of offshooting on a little story. But my dad came home the other day with 10, 50-pound bags of grain. And I was unloading those off the truck. And even like some of the maneuvers that Brice teaches us to do, like I could lean down and like I engaged my core muscles. I grabbed those pounds of feed and just I flung 8 of them. And then I had to take a break. And I think it was about 15, 20 seconds. And I grabbed the other 2 and I flung them.
That is
And then I jumped
amazing.
off the truck and then I stacked them. So just like little things in my everyday life of just being the farm girl, the farmer's daughter, and I'm so much stronger in moving this stuff. And I feel so much more confident I'm not going to hurt myself. For example, like
Yes.
I was worried about my back. Like I throw 80-pound bales of hay. I have horses. And sometimes those bales are 100 pounds. And when I get to a 100-pound bale, I have to say, hey, like my brothers or somebody, can you get this one? Because this one is just way too heavy. But even lifting that with my core strength, I'm still a little fluffy, don't get me wrong, but there's definite strength in my core now, way more than before. So just to be able to lift these heavy objects and feel confident, I'm not going to hurt my back because I'm stronger than I was. So I mean, it's just amazing. And one thing that has been helpful with me through this last, we'll say, year and a half journey or so is I'm not looking at losing weight anymore.
Mhm.
I want to be healthy. I want to feel good. I want to be strong. And
Yeah.
this is where, and now I see a little bit of weight loss and I'm like, oh, great. I feel stronger. I feel healthier. Oh, I'm starting to lose some weight. And I don't get on a scale. I don't weigh
Yeah,
myself. I
I was
said,
about to
well,
say,
so
I don't believe
um,
in scales. Yeah.
yeah, but it makes me feel better to know that you had low blood pressure things as well. Because I was thinking that I'm like, I'm gonna work through this. I'm gonna figure this out. I want to know what I can do to help just get through this. And that's what I'm gonna start doing.
Yeah.
And I
And
figured
that's
this
so
out during the 10-day
beautiful.
shadow work challenge.
Oh, it's amazing. Well, that's beautiful because I always say, like, when you have these limitations in your body, and I've got plenty of them, trust me. Ram Dass used to call things interesting, and I love that he used that word. So instead of saying, "Oh my God, I have low blood pressure," or "I have asthma," or "I have this," or "I have that," just be like, "Interesting. Okay, this is where my karma is. I don't know where it came from. I can't remember where it came from, but obviously this was important enough to my soul that
Yeah.
I notice it." And so I'm going to notice it and I'm just going to work on it. And stuff like that, our issues that we have in our bodies, these continual things, they're going to be there for the rest of our lives. You're not going to ever totally get rid of it. But I will say too, Jennifer, I wanted, before I forget go back here. So with the bar fusion classes and why most of the weight loss classes are the bar fusion classes is because as far as the cardiovascular work is concerned, all you need to get the benefits of cardiovascular work, the strong heart, the strong lungs, the flushing of the blood, is 7 to 10 minutes a day. So that's what we start off with. It's just like 7 minutes of cardiovascular that's not going to mess with your nervous system. And then we go directly into the anaerobic work. And so for those who are interested in this, and the bar fusion is my favorite. Don't tell the Ashtanga people I say that, but bar fusion is my favorite because it is so. Now what we're looking at too, you talked about so there's all the bar fusion classes. I'm going to be changing some of these thumbnails, guys, but even strength training is anaerobic. I didn't put any of these into you can use these for weight loss, but because they are strength training, there's a lot of weight involved. If you are if you have a lot of weight to lose and you're not used to working out, I would not add any type of weights to your body yet. Let your body get a little bit stronger and then because all weights are added resistance. That's it. That's all weight is added resistance. That's the Ashtanga. This is a lot of anaerobic work too with the axis strength training. And the cardio dance is just fun. That's all
Love.
cardio. This is the Vinyasa flow, the Western yoga, flush and restore. That's what I was talking about. So I do have one 90-minute flush and restore. So like I might use the 90-minute one a day after like Thanksgiving or something again to just help get the body just flush it, that one night stand, just that one, I need just something a little bit, just one little fix and that's it, and then I'm good to go back to anaerobic, right? The
Mhm.
live classes now, walking workout, somatic. Now you like the somatic healing classes too, correct, Jennifer?
I love the somatic healing class. I mean, those are my ultimate favorites. And I always push myself for them. I love the music you put with them. It's just those are my favorite. The somatic are my favorite.
And this could be good for weight loss too. Somatic means body, so this is like body healing. So literally all exercise you do in the name of healing yourself is somatic. But there are different therapies like rebounding work that's involved in somatic exercises. This can also be used though for weight loss too. We have the post-workout meditations. I'm going to be moving these classes to different classes and of course Little Alchemist. Now you talked about your back and your hip and your core, and this is so important, Jennifer. So I thank you for bringing this up because I have struggled with back issues since I was in high school. I had back surgery at 17. I've also had a broken sacrum. My left hip sits a lot higher than my right hip. However, I often struggle. Like right now, I'm dealing with my right hamstring. Like once a year for like a couple months, I'll have some right hamstring issues. It comes and goes, so I know how to deal with it. But it's back again. And I'm just like, okay, interesting. You're back. Hello, old friend. You're back. But what I'm going to stand up for a second, guys, because what Jennifer is talking about, I think sometimes, and yeah, check out. This is one of our vintage AYA t-shirts. This
I
is like a
love
10. It's
it.
one of my favorite ones.
Yeah,
But
I know
we're
that. Yeah.
it's a vintage. It's Todd's actually, so it's a little big. But what we're working on mainly is this area of the body. So
Yeah.
the lower core, belly. So your core in any type of spiritual work, dance, yoga is mid arm, whole torso to like mid thigh. So it's your back, it's your chest, it's your hips. So a lot of times I think people see the core and the hips as something two different pieces of the puzzle. I got to work my hips, I got to work my core, but they are intricately connected through the way the muscles work. We've worked a lot with crossing through the
Yes.
back. So with these bar tucks we do where I have you do a standing tuck, not only are you doing a standing crunch, you're pulling your ribs to your hip, but this is also because you're standing up, you're involved in an active stretch. So all of the muscles are engaged. And guess what happens to the lower back when this happens? Blood
It's,
flow.
yeah.
You
Mm.
get a rush of blood into the lower back. Now, blood, for those that don't know, nothing in your life is ever going to heal you physically like your own blood.
Yeah.
That is your sacred DNA. And
Mhm.
when we have really tightness, like I get a tight back too, it comes and goes for me. I know what to do to fix it. That is held energy. It's old blood that's stuck there that's not moving. So when we start to utilize that and activate the muscles, we can lift the old blood so that fresh blood can come in to start to heal, and the old blood can go back to the heart to be cleansed.
That's so
Does that
interesting.
It
It
is.
makes
It's
so much sense.
fascinating. It's so fascinating. And we talked about this in the last live class where I think some people are very confused about stretching.
Mhm.
Seated stretching is great for a cool down, but that's not when the real work is happening. Active stretching. And that's why I do a lot of like the leg lifting, because when you're standing and you lift your leg, so when you're standing and you lift that leg, that's the same thing as a bar tuck. So all the muscles are engaged in the leg, so there's activation and movement. The belly is contracting, the organs are getting massaged, so your vital organs are getting massaged and strengthened, and then whoosh, that blood is coming in. It's also rotating through the hip. So a lot of the bar stuff is actually using the hip like this, where there's lifting, so it's creating that rotation in the hip. The hip is a ball and socket. It's just like the arm. It's a ball and socket. If you look at a little kid, now little kids, babies don't have their kneecaps when they're born, which still freaks me out that babies come out without
I
kneecaps.
know. It's crazy,
But
isn't it?
so they do have some more range of motion than us because they don't have their kneecaps. But even when they grow their kneecaps, little kids can typically move their legs in
Mhm.
a pretty, like they can kind of go in a very circular way, right?
Yeah.
But then we get conditioned as adults through sitting at a desk,
Yeah.
through shoes, where we get in this parallel pattern of movement by walking. Even runners struggle sometimes. So I talked about professional runners usually do have open hips because their coach is working that hip to get that hip to maintain that ability to move. So what we're doing in a lot of the bar classes when we're standing up, holding the bar or the chair or the table, and the leg is lifted, is not just strengthening muscles simultaneously. Things are happening simultaneously. There's also an active lengthening of the muscle and a stretch that's occurring as well. So new blood flow is coming in, and the body then, so you're noticing a difference is because your body has now repatterned your lower
Yes.
back, your lower core, and your hip. So that's why you're feeling better. And when your hips are tight, for people who don't realize you have tight hips, that can cause so many problems. Back pain, it can cause walking pain. And when you start to open those hips, your whole life will change.
Yeah.
You mentioned that, and well, let me just like go back to maybe 10 years ago. And of course, I mentioned I always have walked and stuff, but I remember how my right hip would always ache and hurt. And it would take me like 15, 20 minutes for it to even just subside enough to keep going. It never really left. But now
Yeah.
it's like, yeah. So and I never knew what active stretching was.
A lot of people don't.
Never
A lot of people don't.
understood. I never understood like the difference all of this knowledge can make.
Yeah.
And
And
that's my goal. Yeah.
yeah, and I think
That's
it's
and
really
that's yeah.
important to note that it does take time. Like I don't want
Yes.
people to listen and see and think, oh well, Jennifer's been doing this for a year and a half. That's so long. I don't want to have to do that to get results. No, this is like an ongoing journey. And like you said, it's the repatterning that's been going on, and that does take some time. I mean, any kind of healing work that you do is repatterning and reprogramming. It's even like with your mind and training and having new thoughts and things like that. It's all repatterning and reprogramming. And it takes
Yep.
time, and you've got to be consistent with it.
And I also want to point out like this is like my own journey. So for example, when I started exercising with Brice, I did it like 2 or 3 days a week.
Mhm. Yeah.
And like and then I would just do my walking but now it's like I've kind of gotten into my own I took my own time
Yes.
with moving into my own pattern and groove. Now someone else can start and may notice results faster than me. We're all so different,
Yeah.
and we
Yeah.
all have different, I'm not gonna lie, ladies, I like my candy, I like my sugar,
I do too,
and
girls. Those are my
there
favorites.
are
So
there are, just like you guys mentioned, you like, I do eat a lot. A lot. And I probably, but I'm happy with where I'm at. I feel like I'm toning up health healthy wise.
Yeah.
I'm not losing, I don't want to lose weight fast. It took me a while to gain this weight. It's going to take me a while to move this weight.
Yeah. And I think
And
that's
I'm
such
okay
a
with that.
great attitude to have. Yeah,
Yeah.
definitely.
And your metabolism is going to change. The more you build your muscles, and that's why I say get rid of the scales because,
Oh, yeah.
Because
unless you,
you want this to be part of your lifestyle. You want
yeah,
this to
Yes.
be, yeah.
and
This is not a quick fix, you know.
no, and weight is not, unless you need your actual weight for some sort of medical purpose, like for medication or something, fine. But I think the scales have disconnected us from our body in a lot of
Yes,
ways.
Mm-hmm.
they
Like
have.
I know Catherine Edwards has talked about this. Like walking watches and smartwatches have disconnected us from our body. We should be
Yeah.
able to feel these things in our body. We shouldn't need a technology to tell us that something's wrong. So like I can feel it when I maybe need have like swollen a couple of pounds or something. I'll immediately do it. Like I'll take that little one night stand with the flush class, flush and get that, like, okay, thanks for telling me, buddy. And also weight and fat 5 pounds of muscle and 5 pounds of fat. Well, 5 pounds of muscle looks a lot slimmer than 5 pounds of fat, right? But it's the same
Yeah.
weight. So you can lose the fat and turn it into a muscle and you look slimmer. You
Mhm.
might have dropped a couple of sizes. Your skin looks different. You're looking healthier, but the scales might not have moved.
Yeah.
So don't use the scales as your end all be all
Mhm.
as to what's happening in your body. And sometimes what happens too when we see this with weight, sometimes your body will hold weight and then will just drop. All of a sudden, you'll wake up one day and you've just dropped a bunch of weight. Like, so sometimes it happens that way. Sometimes it happens slower. Same thing happens with a physical exercise. I see this in the Mysore room all the time. And I think it happens with every form of exercise. You'll be consistently getting better and better and better and better at something. And then you'll hit like a week or two where you feel like you've taken 5 steps back, where you've
Yeah.
lost your
Yes.
balance, you're having a hard time breathing again, and people get discouraged. But my experience with myself and with my students is when that happens, I'm like, oh, good. When that happens to a student, I'm like, goody, goody. They're like, what do you mean? I'm like, you're about to have a massive breakthrough, is what that's about to happen.
Yeah.
So what happens sometimes, like with Ashtanga, like let's say somebody's working on getting their leg behind their head. Ekapati Shirshasana, which is a massive hip opener, right? So they've worked up to this point. They've gotten their hip really strong, progressively stronger, progressively more open, their core stronger to support it. And they're starting to really get that leg back without the teacher having to help them and support them. And then one day they get to the shala and the leg just locks.
Mhm.
It just locks and it won't move. That's when it gets exciting.
Yeah.
Okay, keep coming every day. We're going to have a few setbacks. And then what happens is a couple weeks later, they come in expecting a setback, and all of a sudden that leg just goes behind the head, no problem, and they're shocked. They didn't even need help. They're holding it, and they can fold with it, and it stays, and it's just locked in. So the way
Wow.
that I see this, when you do a slingshot, what happens? What has to happen for that rock before it can fly forward? It has to be pulled back a little bit,
Mhm.
and then it releases and flings forward.
Wow.
So that's what's
Yeah.
happening. Don't get discouraged when that happens. It's going to happen to everybody at some point. Do not get discouraged. Keep showing up.
Yeah.
Yeah.
There's
Because
difficulties. Hold them
yeah,
back a little.
there have been days I've done my exercises and it's a struggle for me even to move, and I just want to finish it and get through it, and I'm very tipsy, like I can't hold my balance, but then I'll go do something the next day. I'll do a different workout, or I'll go back to that other workout like in 2 or 3 days, and I do it so much stronger. So it
Yeah.
just, and that, so now I'm really starting to pay attention to my diet, which I should have done a long time ago. But again, I'm working my own path here,
By step.
but I'm keeping
Yeah.
track of my food better. And I'm noticing things I'm eating on days where I am more dizzy. Like, so I need to fuel this is where I'm like, okay, Jennifer, you need to fuel your body better.
Mhm.
And I've been
Watch
looking,
overhydration too.
sorry,
Overhydration.
overhydration.
Overhydration is almost as worse as dehydration, you guys.
Mhm.
And this
Yeah.
happens, that can cause dizziness.
Wow.
So
Okay.
this is something people don't talk about that much,
Mhm.
but
I've
it's
never heard.
super important. You can overhydrate yourself. That dra you get dra you you're drowning your organs when you do that.
Yes.
So Please make sure that you are putting electrolytes in your water, especially if you live somewhere that's very hot and humid,
Mhm.
so that you're not losing all the salt
Yeah.
in your body. You need salt in your body.
Yeah, a friend of mine who's an RN, we had a discussion about that. And because I talked to her about this dizziness and whatnot, and she's like, we need to talk about sodium and salt. And my doctor's even told, like years ago, my doctor would tell me to eat salt, and I kind of forgot about it. And then I don't really eat a lot of salt.
I
I eat a lot of
drink 2 or 3 of these a day filled with water.
Hmm.
Now I live in a very hot and humid area of the world, and I'm also sweating a lot because not only am I exercising my own practice, then doing it for the academy or the Body Fusion Studio, then doing it in my live classes. So I definitely probably need more water than most, but I always put electrolytes in this. Always. Always. I will not drink it without electrolytes. That is a must for us in our house because if you drink too much water without enough sodium, you're going to be dizzy. You could wreck your car. Like it's I've had that happen to me before where I would got extremely overhydrated. And I thought I was gonna, I mean, it was so bad that day. And I'm not, I mean, listen, I practiced with a broken sacrum and a broken wrist. I'm not a crybaby. But that night I literally thought I was gonna have to go to the hospital because I felt so disconnected from my body. And I felt so, and it was because you're drowning your organs when you overhydrate. You need salt, guys. Salt is not the enemy, especially if you're
okay,
exercising a lot. Your sweat, have you ever tasted your sweat? It's salty.
Hmm.
salty.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Thank you for pointing that out. Duh.
Yeah. Put electrolytes. Now, I
Preaching.
don't care which company electrolytes you use. I know I've gotten that asked a lot. I've played with different companies of electrolytes. Whichever works for you,
Uh-huh.
works for you.
Thank
Just
you for mentioning that because I was going to ask you about that.
all right, guys, we're gonna end it there today. We gave you guys a lot of tidbits, a lot of little tips with the anaerobic, the aerobic, with the salt, the overhydration, weight loss breakthroughs. Once again, you guys, if you want to join us over on Body Fusion Studio, this is our website. We've just had a total facelift and upgrade. We're still in the process of just cleaning up a few more things. It looks so good, but tier 2, which is just the exercise. So we have free content. Exercise membership is $25 a month, which is less than a drop in at a yoga studio, guys. You get all this. And then tier 2, which includes workshops, you have that is free. The 10-day shadow work challenge is free. If you want it, it's on our homepage. We have the Ashtanga yoga course, healing for ascension body, healing for ascension mind, healing for ascension spirit, health, healing, and beyond, which is a lot of the teachings of Chris Macharya, yoga of the heart, which is a lot of the teachings of Deskachar, all sorts of stuff. I love the alchemy of movement because that goes into all the different
Yeah.
elements of exercise. Exercise. If you want to do the full membership, that's 40 a month with exercise and the workshops, or you can just do the exercises just simply for 25 a month. You can have your at-home gym. This is great for people who are nervous about starting it. I get that. People get insecure about going to the gym or the yoga studio. I promise you, no one's judging you, though, as teachers. We're just glad you're there. So you don't need to be nervous, but if you are, this is a great way for you to do this at home. We have a great community of people. We have a community board. We do live classes once a month. We also have a live chit chat once a month. So if you want to join us, you get the first 7 days for free too to try. Jennifer, what's your affiliate link? If you want to do it, you can use Jennifer's name at
Jennifer
discount.
B.
Jennifer B, we're going to put it down below. You get 20% off your
Mhm.
first 6 months. It's a long time of tuition with us. So you get a discount on top of already discounted rate. I know some people, our prices are so good, Paula, that some people just
Yeah.
use us as a secondary workout. Like they have their gym membership or their yoga membership and they have us just as a secondary. And that's great too. That's
Yeah.
awesome too. Right. So, and anyway, guys, I'm gonna suggest, leave us questions
Hmm.
on Paula's YouTube, my YouTube, and Fusion Body Studio YouTube. Guys, leave us questions in the comment section if you want us to answer anything for you next week, or if you need a deeper explanation on any of the topics that we spoke about. And I can't wait to hear more about Jennifer's story next week for part 2.
Absolutely.
Thank you.
Thank you so much for joining us, Jennifer, and
Thank
sharing
you
your
for having.
experience with us. It's amazing.
Yeah, it's been fun. It's just been fun.
It's
It's
so
been great.
fun, isn't it? Just
It's
because
been,
it's hard doesn't mean it can't be fun, you guys. Like,
but the hardness has made it fun. It's just been a good thing for me. It
Yeah.
really
I'm so
has.
I'm so glad. I'm so glad. And I for those who are new, just I take all my education from India because I spent a lot of time in India. I'm the only female authorized KPJY teacher here in Georgia. So I've taken all of that knowledge of esoteric spirituality in the body and I've fused it, we'll say, since we're a Fusion Body Studio, into more modern stuff, right? We listen to rock and roll music, right?
It's
We're listening
awesome.
to
It's
like
so much fun. The best music.
rap music while we're having a spiritual experience. So we would love to have you guys. And please, any questions you have for us, please ask away. We're here to serve. And so anyway, you guys. So yeah, until
Thank
Awesome.
next
you.
week.
Yeah, see you
Thank
Yes.
next
you.
week. Thanks for joining us, everyone.
Take care, everyone.
Bye.